viewers, welcome to the session on reading difficulties and strategies. Well, we all know how important is the skill of reading in our life. And most of us, or at least some of us, we face different kinds of difficulties while reading the text. In this session, in this program, we are going to see what are the difficulties that a learner or a reader face, or the kind of difficulties that he faces while reading the text, and what are the strategies to overcome those difficulties. By the word strategy, Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary says strategy is a careful plan or a careful method. Well, viewers, I am Sunil Solomon Philip, Assistant Professor of English in the Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. And here we go to learn the reading difficulties, to know the reading difficulties, and to hone the strategies to overcome those difficulties. Here we go. Well, skill of reading is when we read the text, we interact with that, and the text speaks to us. You see, reading is not a mechanical process. It's a process where our intellectual abilities, our intellectual, learning abilities are involved. We see with our eyes, we understand with our mind, and we try to feel what the writer writes. We feel with the text. We, undergo several emotions. We go through several emotions when we read a text, right? So the text speaks to us as if a human being speaks to us, or a friend speaks to us. The text speaks to us, right? The ability to comprehend the written text. Reading is the ability to comprehend. The meaning of comprehend is to understand. Well, in all the academic exams, engineering students, or competitive exams, we have reading comprehension sections. What is the meaning of comprehension? The meaning of comprehension is to understand. Well, the ability to understand the written text is reading. It helps to expand our mind. It broadens our mind. And it unleashes the potential within us. Right? Reading tells us who we are and enables us to understand the world around us. We connect the ideas on the page to what we already know. You see, always a mature reader, a proficient reader, or a skillful reader, he always brings his background knowledge to the piece of text that he's reading. Because with the help of the background knowledge, with the help of the background information, he'll be able to understand the text that he reads. Right? That's where we have two kinds of readers. One kind of reader is a bottom-up reader. These kinds of readers are poor readers. Their reading skills are poor, so they read word after word. Slowly, they make meaning of the words by pronouncing, by uttering, with the help of the sound, with the help of each word, and then they connect the word, one word with the other word, and then they make meaning of the text. These kinds of readers are bottom-up readers. There are top-down readers who are proficient, mature, fluent, and who are like good readers, active readers. These readers, they always bring their background knowledge to the text. And with the help of the background knowledge, they try to understand the text. They try to connect with the text so that they can understand the gist properly, and they can analyze and understand the summary completely. Okay, fine. So, poor reading comprehension is one of the major problems. Difficult words is one of the major problems in reading difficulties. Decoding deficiency. You see, writer encodes the text and the reader decodes the text. with the help of his, knowledge of vocabulary, background knowledge, and with the help of his, analyzing abilities, he will decode the text. This decoding deficiency is mainly because of the lack of vocabulary or lack of word power. Right. We will see how to overcome those difficulties in the session that we are going to listen to. Attention deficit. There are students who suffer from attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADD or ADHD, meaning they cannot focus on the text for a fixed time. Their mind keeps wandering. So at times they read, for example, they read a particular word, and after 2 or 3 lines they say no, and then they again come back to the first word, because their mind keeps wandering. They may also be daydreamers. They are in their fantasies, dreamlands. Possible. Attention. The reason for the attention deficit is these people, their mind is not focused. Their mind is not attentive and focused. It keeps wandering. Okay. So what are the strategies? As I said in the beginning, as I introduced the word strategy in the beginning, what are the careful plans or careful methods to overcome these, decoding deficiency problems or vocabulary problems or attention deficit problems? We will see. Poor vocabulary. The third cause of reading comprehension is insufficient vocabulary. By the word poor vocabulary, I mean to say insufficient vocabulary, because the habit of reading is less. The amount of vocabulary that the person has is less. He's not exposed to a good number of words. Most importantly, the difficult words. For example, a word such as mayhem, M-A-Y-H-E-M, mayhem. By the word mayhem, there was mayhem in the parliament, or there was mayhem in the assembly between the two parties, opposition, ruling party and the opposition party. What do we understand by the word mayhem in such a kind of context or in such a kind of sentence? Well, the word mayhem means it is pandemonium. Pandemonium, all hell breaking loose. Turmoil, mayhem, commotion, disturbance. These are the common things that we generally see in our parliaments and assembly sessions. People throwing papers and then shouting, slogans in the assembly or parliament. That is mayhem. That is mayhem. That means based on the context, based on the situation, we will decode the words. And most importantly, viewers, students, I am telling you a very important secret in this session. And the secret is, listen very carefully. When you know one word, don't restrict yourself to that one particular meaning of the word. For example, as I said, mayhem. Don't just be satisfied with pandemonium. Go to a phrase such as all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose. This is a phrase. This is a phrase. Commotion, disturbance, disorder. Go for the extended meanings of the words. This is one of the top secrets that a student should always, understand. And when he knows this secret, he will increase his vocabulary boundaries. He will enlarge his vocabulary boundaries. That will give him the required confidence, fluency, accuracy, authority, command to express himself confidently, to present and portray himself, most importantly in interviews or, most importantly in presentations, because engineering students have lots of presentations. That will give him the required caliber and potential to present himself confidently and successfully. Right. Okay. Now, no matter how skillful a person is at sounding out words, poor word power and decoding knowledge. As I said just now, the pronunciation might sound polished pronunciation. You see, the pronunciation might be polished, refined pronunciation, or standard pronunciation, RP, received pronunciation. Britishers use received pronunciation, and that's what we also learn as Indians, because Britishers taught us English, right? The pronunciation might be good, but the meaning of the word is very important, because without knowing the correct meaning of the word, the total concept or the total gist may be misunderstood. So we need to be very careful about knowing the actual meaning of the word that is mentioned in the text. Right, okay. Now, if the reader knows little about the subject he is reading, he will find it more difficult to comprehend the material than someone who has some knowledge about the subject. Well, he knows little about the subject he is reading. He will find it more difficult to comprehend the material than someone who has some knowledge. As I told you, as mature readers, proficient readers, they always bring their background knowledge to the text. That will make their life easy to understand the text, and that will help them to understand it quickly and completely, perfectly, correctly. Right? Okay. To some, the difficulties of reading comprehension they are varied and complex. And there are different kinds of problems that are faced by different kinds of readers. These are at times complex problems. Right? Okay, fine. For example, some of the readers, when I said various readers have various kinds of problems, or different readers have different kinds of problems, some of the examples are finger under the lines of print. For example, when they read the text, they always have this finger or pen or pencil under the line of print. That should be avoided. That should be avoided. Your eyes should smoothly sweep the lines. Okay? They should go to the forward and then backward movements. Forward, backward movements should be done very smoothly without any jerks while reading the text. You see, a mature reader silently focuses on the text and only his eyes read, not even his lips. Only his mind reads, right? And he never uses his pen or pencil or finger under the line of print. That kind of habit should be avoided, and that will help you to read more in the given time. Most importantly, when it is an exam and when you have a standardized test. For example, your reading comprehension has only 5 minutes time. So you need to be very fast in your reading. You should be able to understand the words properly. And then you should answer the questions, objective questions, okay, synonyms, antonyms, all those things, direct, indirect questions, inferential questions. Fine, right. Subvocalization. This is another problem that is faced by most of the readers. What they do is, I'm demonstrating it to you now in front of the camera, the meaning of the word subvocalization. What they do is, in a hushed tone, that means in a hushed tone, they try to utter the words. That will unnecessarily take the energy. It is a waste of energy, and they will not be able to complete it in the given time. Well, most importantly, lack of interest or enthusiasm. When the person has no interest in the piece of text that is being read, that will kill the enthusiasm, and that will fill the atmosphere with boredom. So one should be careful about that. Okay, fine, right. Now let us see different kinds of reading. What are the different kinds of reading that one should take up to overcome these difficulties? What are the kinds of strategies that one should learn to overcome these problems of reading? The first one is active reading. And active reading, it aims to get an in-depth understanding of the text. Reader gets actively involved with the text. Unlike that of skimming or scanning, deriving an in-depth knowledge of the text is important. Well, the meaning of skimming is just the general idea of the text. For example, when you buy a book, you skim the text, or you skim the book contents, the contents of the book, okay, and then the blurb of the book about the author, and then the cover, all those things. You just give it a glance, and then you decide whether to buy the book or not. That is skimming. Whereas scanning, imagine you have a big list of train timetable. Your eyes scan train number 12871 departing at a particular time arriving the destiny at particular time, fare, all those things in a list of some 100 trains. Your eyes scan that particular train, and that is called as reading or looking for particular or specific information. So that is skimming or scanning. Active reading, unlike that of skimming or scanning, active reading is actually in-depth reading, getting involved with the text, getting connected with the text. Well, there is another theory that is proposed by Mortimer Adler, and the meaning of and the title of that theory is structure proposition evaluation. This is usually used for non-fiction writing. Fiction writing is all imaginary. Non-fiction writing is the actual, for example, theories that we learn, laws that we learn. That is non-fiction. So for this, structure proposition evaluation will be immensely useful, richly useful. What happens in this structure proposition evaluation is the reader studies the structure of the work, and then he studies the logical proposition and organize them into chains of inference. By the word chains of inference, I mean to say indirect meaning. He will try to find out the logical connections in the text, and he will understand the indirect meaning mentioned in the text, reading between the lines. By the word reading between the lines, understanding the indirect objective of the text of the writer, right? And then finally, evaluation of the merits of the arguments and conclusions. Evaluating the merits of the arguments and conclusions. Right, fine. So the first type of reading I said is active reading. The second one that I'm going to introduce is detailed reading. What is detailed reading? Well, detailed reading is extracting information accurately from the whole text. Under this technique, we read every word for understanding the meaning of the text. For example, you are reading a Mediclaim policy. One of your relatives has been hospitalized, and to claim the policy, you are actually claim the bill. You are reading the complete policy particulars. What are the charges? What is permissible? How much amount is possible? Okay, when is the money released? All these things. So you try to read all the rules and regulations of the policy very, very carefully. What is that you are trying to understand? That what is that you are trying to derive there? You are trying to derive the meaning of the Mediclaim policy about the medical reimbursement. So detailed reading is such kind of reading. This will help you to overcome this attention deficit disorder, because that is an important need. So you cannot let your mind wander here and there. You try to focus your mind on a particular rule, and you will try to understand what is it you are actually going to get. That's one. And then we have also said that fingers under the lines of the text, and then we said people who do the sub-vocalization over a period of gradually, by practice helps you to overcome this habit of sub-vocalization, and that will enable you to become a mature reader who reads with the eyes, with the mind, not with the lips. Right, okay. Now, in this careful reading, I'm going to say in this detailed reading, we can skim the text first for getting a general idea, and then go back to read in detail. For example, first of all, we will just skim. We will just see for general particulars, subheadings maybe. What is here? Okay, bed charges, amount, okay, terms and conditions, all the subheadings, for example. Then we will get into the actual detailed reading of the text to know the rules and regulations, terms and conditions, whatever conditions apply in that Mediclaim policy, etc. Fine. Dictionary to find the meaning of every unfamiliar word. If we come across difficult words, we also use dictionary to find out the meaning of the words. Well, dictionary is important. Most importantly, more than dictionary, as a reference tool, try to use as students, try to habituate yourself, acclimatize yourself to the book called as Thesaurus dictionary. This is also a dictionary. The meaning of thesaurus, Thesaurus, thesaurus is, it's a collection of synonyms and antonyms. I repeat, the meaning of thesaurus is, it's a collection of synonyms and antonyms. You can download it on your smartphones, because most of the times now you use your smartphones. You will have a string of synonyms, you will have a string of antonyms at the click of one button. Try to, as I told you, the secret of expanding your vocabulary is try to learn the string of vocabulary, a string of words. Okay. For example, the moment you come across the word adaptability, the words that should come to your mind is flexibility, adjustability, compatibility, right? So that's how you can actually expand your vocabulary. That will help you in written communication and spoken communication, right? Okay. Then we have so far seen active reading. Now we have seen detailed reading. Let us see some of the other reading strategies to overcome the difficulties. Speed reading. The third one is speed reading. What is this? Well, speed reading is actually a combination of various reading methods. The aim of speed reading is basically to increase the reading speed without compromising on the understanding of the text reading. As I told you, as a mature reader, your eyes sweep through the lines and there are no sudden jerks there, and you don't use your finger there. You don't use your voice to make meaning of the text. You don't do that. So without compromising on the understanding of the text, you will increase the speed of reading, right? Identifying words without focusing on each letter, eyes sweeping the lines without sudden jerks in comprehension, not to sounding out all words, not sub-vocalizing some phrases, spending less time on some phrases than others, skimming small sections. Reading is the basic foundation on which academic skills of individuals are built. Well, you don't spend time on unnecessary lines, because in a text, of course, understanding the complete gist or summary is important, but there are a few lines which are actually not that important, especially in reading comprehension passages. So you can carefully, by giving it a glance, you can avoid and go to the important details. Most importantly, the contextual clues are keywords in a text. If it's a reading comprehension passage. If it's a general text, of course, reading everything is important, but reading the important details there is much more important, right? So that is technique number 3, that is speed reading. We have seen detailed reading. Number 1, we have seen active reading. Second, we have seen detailed reading. The third one is speed reading. Let us go and see some more reading strategies to overcome the reading difficulties, to become fluent, confident, and mature readers, successful readers. Here we go. Well, most of the subjects taught to us are based on a simple concept. Whatever our teachers teach, whatever our professors, lecturers teach, that's based on a simple concept, that is read, understand, analyze, synthesize. Synthesis is, blending. It's a sort of blending, consolidating. Okay? And get information, deriving information. It's also based on another technique called as SQ3R. Well, it is used for reading comprehension passages, most importantly, in competitive exams, and even for your examination purposes, because nowadays there are so many exams. Survey, question, read, recite, review. I repeat, the name of the technique is SQ3R. The name of the strategy is SQ3R. Survey the text. Question yourself while you read the text. Why? The 6 kinds of questions. And the 6 kinds of questions are who, what, where, when, why, how. I repeat, who, what, where, when, why, how. Keep questioning yourself. You will get the answers while reading the text. Right? And then recite. Try to recite the information that you have read. Reciting is equally important. And review. Give it a review. Go back and see whether you have covered all the important particulars. Is there anything important that you have missed out in note making or most important, note making. We use the note making technique while reading the text, and we do the note taking technique while listening to the lecture. Okay, fine. So the 4th one here is SQ3R. Survey, question, read, recite, review. All right. I usually highlight in all my lectures about another 3 R's, and the other 3 R's are recall the context. retain the text, and reproduce it in the test. I repeat, the 3 R's are recall that means contextually understand the subject, situationally understand the subject, retain the text, retention, and reproduce it in the test. Okay? Vocabulary knowledge, text comprehension, both are equally important for successful, fruitful, result-oriented and productive comprehension to take place. Well, so far I have introduced 4 or 5 kinds of techniques to overcome the reading difficulties. That is active reading, detailed reading, speed reading, SQ3R, 4 types of reading techniques. Now I'm going to take you to 3 kinds of comprehensions. And the 3 kinds of comprehensions are, first one is literal comprehension. What is that? Let us see. The reader should understand the information explicitly mentioned in the text. That means understanding the direct details, direct meanings mentioned in the text. Recognizing, recalling facts, identifying the main idea, supporting details, categorizing, outlining, and summarizing. All these things are covered in literal comprehension. These are the things that we actually do. These are the actions that we actually do when we read the text. That means we try to recognize the meaning of the word. Okay? Then we try to recall the facts, background information. We try to identify what is the main idea of the text. Supporting details, supporting the main idea. Categorize. We try to categorize. Okay, these are the benefits of mobile phone. These are the benefits of internet. These are the benefits of text reading, right? And then we try to outline, give it an outline, and finally summarize, give it the gist of it or the summary of it, essence of it. Contextual clues are very important in literal comprehension or any other comprehension. Organizational patterns such as cause and effect, comparison and contrast are equally important. Cause and effect, for example, pollution, right? Vehicular pollution, chemical pollutions. What are the effects, right? Or, for example, comparison and contrast. When you compare 2 things, for example, mobile phones and internet. When you compare and contrast these 2 things, or laptop and personal computer, desktop. When you compare and contrast these 2 things, what are the similarities? What are the dissimilarities? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? Okay, fine. What words state the main idea of the story? Some of the questions that you generally encounter in reading passages or reading texts. How does the author summarize what he is saying? Outlining the first paragraph of the story. What happened first, second, and last? Sequence, logical sequence or chronological sequence. How are these things alike? How are they similar or how are they dissimilar? What things belong together? Right? What is the similarity in them? What is the dissimilarity in them? So, these are the things that are covered in literal comprehension. Well, in inferential comprehension, we have, this is another type of comprehension. Reading between the lines take place. We make inferences about things not explicitly stated, deriving the implicit ideas, views and opinions. Figurative language, drawing conclusions, predicting outcomes, determining the mood, tone and tenor of the passage or the text, and judging the author's point of view. What is the theme? What effect does this character event have on the story? How do you think this story will end? So all these things, we predict, we forecast, we try to, analyze, foresee the things that are going to happen. For example, you are reading a magazine or a novel. You try to guess the climax of the novel or the story. You try to predict, forecast the ending of the story, the climax of the story, right? So that is about inferential comprehension. Indirectly, whatever is not explicitly stated, you try to indirectly understand. Okay, the turn of events, the magical turn of events or dramatic turn of events, you try to predict, you try to foresee. Deriving the implicit ideas, figurative language most importantly, predicting outcomes, determining the mood, judging the author's point of view, all that. So literal comprehension is directly understanding. Inferential comprehension is understanding what is indirectly mentioned in the text. Last type of comprehension in our discussion is critical comprehension, and that is high level of comprehension that requires the reader to use his experience to evaluate values, reasoning, simplifications and generalizations. Different readers react in different ways based on their varied life's experiences emotionally and intellectually with the text. Right? So what I'm trying to say here is critical reading. Critical reading involves, it demands the experience of the reader, okay, to be actually used there in understanding the text, in making meaning of the text. Possible questions here are, could this possibly happen? Is this argument logical? What alternatives are there? Generally in reading comprehension passages. Is this a fact or an opinion? Do you agree or disagree with the author? What is the best solution to this problem? Possible questions. Right? That means you try to arrive at conclusions based on your experience, based on your background knowledge, based on the facts, logic. Okay, all these things are used in critical comprehension of the text. So evaluation takes place there, logical reasoning takes place there, simplifications and generalizations, all these things. For example, when you understand the blood relations, okay, reasoning takes place there. So all these things are used in critical comprehension. Literal comprehension, then we have seen, inferential comprehension. The third one is critical comprehension. Well, what is your takeaway in this presentation? Reading difficulties and strategies. Well, we have seen 3 types or 4 types of reading techniques, reading styles such as active reading, detailed reading, speed reading, and SQ3R, survey, question, read, recite, and review. In active reading, we said the person actually gets involved with the text. It is in-depth reading. It is not just skimming or scanning the text. Intensively reading it. Most of the scholars do that, intensive reading. Extensively reading it. When you read for pleasure, for example, you love a story a lot, you go read the whole book and you don't keep the book until you complete the whole book. For example, high school students, they love Harry Potter novels, right? So it's a bulky book. Unless they complete the whole book, they don't keep the book down extensively, because you become an active reader there, get connected with the characters, with the plot of the story, with the turn of the events, all that. And when we say detailed reading is again, you bring your background knowledge there. You try to become a mature reader there, detailed reading. Then speed reading, we said, without compromising on the understanding of the text, you increase the speed of your reading. And fourth style of reading we have seen is survey, question, read, recite, and review. Recall the context, retain the text, and reproduce it in the test. We have seen 3 kinds of comprehensions, and the comprehensions are literal comprehension, and then the inferential comprehension, critical comprehension. Literal is directly understanding the facts that are mentioned in the passage. Inferential is reading between the lines, indirect meaning. Critical comprehension is actually generalizing, reasoning. Critical comprehension is actually arriving at conclusions. So these are the things that we have learned in this session. Reading is what makes an individual a skilled and a strong reader. We all know that. So this skill must be learned and developed. It does not just happen like that. It comes by practice. So try to, sustain the interest. Sustaining the interest in reading is important. Beginning is fine. Sustaining is good until you complete it successfully. Strong readers make good writers, and strong writers make good, they invite good readers. They attract good readers. Sustained exposure to the English language does allow for an expanded vocabulary and knowledge of correct grammar usage, right? For example, even a daily newspaper, okay, will help you. Newspapers like Hindu will help you to expand your vocabulary, to learn correct grammar, contextual usage, right? And when this is combined with literal, inferential, and critical reading experiences, it enables writers to better express themselves and readers to better comprehend different kinds of texts. What is combined? That means the vocabulary and the correct grammar usage, when it is combined with literal, inferential, and critical reading experiences, okay, that will enable writers to better express themselves and readers to better understand different kinds of texts. It can be a conventional newspaper, it can be a conventional regular, even textbooks that you read, because people hardly read nowadays. Uh, you can even be a web form. See, you need not read just the hard copies or textbooks. If you read, the hard copies, that would be great. But nowadays we have we have more of web worms than bookworms. So though it is on the screen, though it is on your smartphone, keep reading. Okay, develop the interest for reading, improve your knowledge of vocabulary, and enrich, empower, enlighten. With the help of that, your knowledge of grammar will be empowered, enlightened, and enriched, and that will make you a confident reader, a successful reader. That's all about reading, difficulties, and strategies. Thank you for watching this program. I'm Sunil Solomon Philip. Thank you very much.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.